вітаю вас у муніципальному мистецькому центрі. І вже, напевно, ви знаєте, що за цей час ми проводимо не лише події, які напряму пов'язані з мистецтвом, з культурою і всяким таким трансцендентним і незрозумілим. Дуже часто ми звертаємося до тих речей, які нам імпонують в розвитку міста, в тому числі в урбанізмі. І через якийсь дуже дивний збіг обставин була думка в мене, що треба привезти велосипеди для переселенців, які втратили свій дім, втратили свої велосипеди, машини. Тут вони намагаються збудувати своє нове життя, але вони потребують транспорту. Найзрозуміліший транспорт для таких речей – це, звичайно ж, велосипед. Я якось запустила в космос інформацію, і через кілька листів ця інформація про те, що нам потрібні велосипеди, прийшла до Мікаеля.
That's it? Wow, okay.
No, it's not now.
No, okay.
Мікаель вважається одним із культових урбаністів сучасності. Він написав кілька праць, які пов'язані з розвитком міст. Він зробив собі біблії, як розвивати велоінфраструктуру в містах. І йому цікаво стало підняти тему гуманітарної допомоги, яка стосується якраз перетворення міст у майбутньому. І він приїхав сюди подивитися, хто ж ми такі, чи готовий Львів як місто змінитися для того, щоб прийняти гуманітарну допомогу у вигляді класних велосипедів з Данії. І в тому числі він поїхав у Бучу, Гостомель. Гостомель, ось Буча, Гостомель, Бородянка і всі ці міста, які інші бачили тільки на фотографіях. Він вирішив через свої супершикарні соцмережі показати, що війна справді триває, ми потребуємо допомоги. Ми потребуємо якраз такого конекту із Заходом. І Мікаель приїхав сюди, щоб розповісти нам, як можна змінити Львів, як можна привезти в нього велосипеди, спочатку під виглядом цієї гуманітарної допомоги. І після того він буде вести з нами різні діалоги, різні можливі перетворення міста. Сьогодні ми вже мали зустріч з мером, законектились. Буде майбутня співпраця Львова і Копенгагену, і я сподіваюся, що це призведе до хороших змін для нас. А далі лекція від Мікаеля. Welcome, please.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you very much. Cool. Thank you. So I'm going to talk tonight about why bicycles as transport are important in every city in the world, okay? And I will talk about why we did it in Copenhagen and why other cities can do the same thing, including this city, including other Ukrainian cities. But the first question is, why am I in Ukraine? I mean, you talked about it a bit, right? But the question from my friends in Denmark is like, why the fuck are you in Ukraine? Like, are you fucking crazy? And I know that it's safe in Lviv, I know it's safe in Kiev, and I have been all these places and seen, you know, what has happened. And so we started this crowdfunding, Bikes for Ukraine, you know, because of this crazy project with all of my friends here in Lviv, who said, Michael, can you get some bikes? And I'm going, oh my God, I can get bikes, right? In Copenhagen, in Denmark, we throw away 400,000 bikes every year. You know, in Copenhagen, we are like 62% of the population who ride bikes every day. You know, politicians, doctors, students, everybody. It's just a normal way to get around the city. And, you know, so that was really important for me to experience what it's like in Ukraine. If I'm going to send bikes to Ukraine because I've been asked to do so, I thought it was an important context. But also, and I'm so sorry to tell you this, but for 2.5 months in the West, in Europe, we're like, oh my God, stand with Ukraine, hashtag stand with Ukraine. And now it's kind of like, you know, we're getting in the West, not here, but in the West, we're kind of getting bored with the war. Yeah, so everything's fine in Kiev. That was the real, wow, they're going to try and take the capital. And now it's, I have literally people saying, oh, but now they're just fighting in the East where they've always been fighting those Ukrainians and the Russians. You know, it's like, that's what they've been normally doing. So it's not, it's different. It's the same as it was before. And I'm like, fuck no, come on. And that's why I went to, you know, to Bucha and, you know, Hostomel and all these places to literally film and tell the people in the West, in Denmark and everywhere else, all the people who follow me on social media, this is still happening. And there's still a need for bikes. And I've been telling the stories, and when I get home, I will be editing many films and putting it out on social media to keep telling the story. Because our crowdfunding went really slow. and I have this amazing team of volunteers with Bikes for Ukraine who are, why is it so slow? This is the most obvious idea. You know, we send money to Ukraine, to all of the different charities, Red Cross, Doctors Without Borders. It's a record in Denmark. I don't even know what the euros is. It's just a massive amount that Danish people have sent to all of the different organizations helping Ukraine. Never seen before. Like 50%, 100% higher than anything else. So of course we're standing with Ukraine, but now it's kind of like, oh my God, summer holidays are soon. Where are you going? You going to Greece? Oh, I'm going to Spain. You know, it's like, okay, we're kind of forgetting it, right? And that's a problem. And you, of course, understand that's a problem. So that's why I'm here, to tell the story and to, get people engaged in this again. And of course, to try and raise money to get Danish bikes to Ukraine, these 400,000 bikes, and everybody has an extra bike in their back courtyard of their homes, and making the human-to-human connection. I will give a bike and it will go to somebody here, a refugee in Lviv, or a citizen in Bucha, or whatever, right? So that's why I'm here. And people in Denmark are like, oh my God, it's so crazy. It's fine. My daughter is so worried. My 14-year-old daughter, she's texting me, every day, are you okay? I'm fine. Like, come on, girl. I'm explaining to her, like, everything's fine, and that's why I decided to come. And on the 3rd of July in Copenhagen, on the City Hall Square, we will have a bike collection. So people will come down with their extra bike. And they will say, this is my bike with a child's seat. And we will have if a woman is like a very typical Danish name, Mette. And Mette can write her name on a sticker and we'll put it on the bike. And we will put it on trucks and deliver it here to Lviv. And we will hopefully give it to an IDP in one of the camps called Olga, whatever, And here's the bike for Mette. So we want that human-to-human connection. And then later we will just keep sending bikes. To Lviv, but also to Bucha, to all of the other places in the east that need bikes. I mean, we got a lot of bikes. And the idea is like that it will spread around Europe. So, I have this secret dream, 1 million bikes for Ukraine. All right, don't tell anybody, but well, you tell everybody, but don't tell anybody. Okay, but that's why I'm here. Okay, but let's talk about why bicycles are important in cities, which is, where's the full screen thing? There it is. Is that full screen? And if I do that, yes, cool. So I have been working as an urban planner, specifically focused on bicycle infrastructure for 15 years. I have worked in cities, 100 cities around the world, taking our best practice model in Copenhagen and copy-paste, Control-C, Control-V, into Detroit, Mexico City, all over the world. Because a lot of cities want this. When I started, nobody cared about this, but now every city in the world wants to have bicycles as transport, right? That's the important difference. It's not not spandex, Tour de France. It's bicycles as a solution for moving around a city. So that's my specialty. That's what I've been doing for many years. I also have written a book, and it is now translated into Ukrainian. And I was supposed to be in Kiev on the 21st of May to launch the book, and then there's a war. So that stopped. And I met my publisher yesterday in Kiev, and he says, yeah, we will publish the book. We're still waiting. We have a paper shortage, all the issues with the war, of course. But this book is coming out in Ukrainian. So hopefully it will also help communicate the importance of bicycles in Ukrainian cities. I also have this TV series, and if you have a VPN, you can go to Canada and you can look for The Life-Size City. We have filmed 3 seasons, and we are now working on season 4, it's called The Life-Size City. And I travel around the world to visit cities and see what the citizens are doing to try and make their cities better. Because I call this the age of urbanism. We are seeing people around the world tired of politicians who are not doing anything, just standing up and saying, okay, you know what? I can't wait anymore. I want somewhere for my children to play outside my home. Take away some parking. Let's make a play street. Let's put in bike lanes. Let's put in more trees. Let's do all of these things that we know are good for urban life. And it's a collective movement, but there's no one beginning. There's not one blog that somebody followed and it started. It's like this collective subconscious movement all around the world in a neighborhood a working class neighborhood in Buenos Aires, in Tokyo, in Toronto, in Mexico City. It's like 70 years of car-centric planning. We've had enough, right? That's like the date on the milk. We've had enough. 70 years. Now we want our cities back, and we want our voices to be heard, and we are the citizens, so we decide. So this is what the TV series is about, so you can check that out. There's also a YouTube channel with many, many clips. That's a picture of Copenhagen in the morning rush hour. This is the world's busiest bicycle street. 42,000 people every day on bikes on this one street. So this is just everybody, like I said, politicians, doctors, students, children, you name it. So I like to point out that we have lived in cities together for 7,000 years. 6,000, 7,000, depends on who you talk to. But for 7,000 years, the streets of our cities were the most democratic space in the history of Homo sapiens. Before that, we were wandering around in tribes and hunting and gathering food. And then we moved into cities and the streets were ours. We did everything in the streets. We transported ourselves, but we also sold our fruits and vegetables and everything else. And we talked to our neighbors and we flirted. We found our partners. We started revolutions. And our children played in the streets. So the streets were the most democratic space in the history of Homo sapiens. And I think that was a beautiful thing. And then we did this. And we invented the car. You can decide if that's a good or bad thing, but in cities, it was a really bad thing. After we invented the car, we tried to put them into our cities. And it never worked for anybody, anywhere in the past 100 years. Cars have been negative for city life ever since they first arrived in our cities. And everything changed after the car. Like 7,000 years of urban history, and then the car came in and everything changed. The whole mentality changed. We have to find space for these big cars. And all of our urban thinking, our urban planning, our engineering, everything changed. And for the past 100 years, but definitely in Europe and in the Ukrainian context, after the war, the 1950s, everything really changed drastically. We copy-pasted everything from the Americans, and the Soviet planning, they copied everything from the Americans as well. Okay, my joke actually here in Ukraine was like, if you're very anti-Russian at the moment, which you might be, right? A little bit anti-Russian, yeah. So I don't know why you still love Soviet planning, which is the streets of every Ukrainian city. It was just planned by the Soviets. So I think that's your first good reason to finally change the city streets in Ukrainian cities, because it came from a place that you don't like very much at the moment, right? So that is definitely an inspiration. Can you make it full screen? Yeah, full screen. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, yeah. Can you do it? Yeah. Cool. So what we're seeing in yeah, next. Yay. Cool. So what we're seeing in cities around the world is what I call, we're going back to the future, right? These are 3 photos from Copenhagen, the same spot at 3 points in history: 1907, 1972, and last year, right? People streets, people just wandering around going, hey, what's up? How you doing? How's your wife? Or, do you want to be my wife? Or you want to be my husband? Just people doing things in the street. We made the same mistakes as everybody else around the world in the 1950s and 60s. We started paving over paradise and trying to make space for cars. And we have realized our big mistake. And we're not perfect in Copenhagen, but this is the center of the city. And now we're putting people back into the street where, that's what streets are for. So back to the future is really where we need to go. Back to a time and a place where we were rational about urban planning, where we planned our streets for the democratic use of them, of all the people who use the space, not just one user group, the motorists. I call it like it's transportation, dictatorship, right? All of this space provided for one small group of people, and it's just one person in 12 square meters. This is not urban democracy. This is urban dictatorship. So we have to go back to the future, to a time 7,000 years of urban thinking. We also have to change the question. I work all over the world, and I meet a lot of, urban planners and traffic engineers, and I know that for 70 years, really, we've been only asking one question of our traffic engineers, and it's how many cars can we fit down the street? And I've asked all of my colleagues around the world, they're going, yeah, totally. Nobody's ever asked me, as a traffic engineer, a different question. That's the only question I've studied in university. How many cars can we fit down the street? And what we need to do is to change this question. And we can do it very easily. We just have to change one word in this question. How many people can we move down a street? And this is really important. If you think about how to move people down a street, instead of only motor vehicles, then there are a lot more interesting answers to be had. Now, this model I made at the bottom, you have trams here in Lviv, it's awesome, and many Ukrainian cities. The model at the bottom, it can move 10 times more people down a street than the model that we see in so many cities around the world, still to this day. So if we're trying to move people around a city effectively, it is trams, public transport, buses and trams, bicycle infrastructure, and of course pedestrians, right? We need to change this question. And so many cities in Europe are doing this. This is not like this guy with some weird theory here in Lviv today. This is happening, In Amsterdam, they are now in the process of removing 10,000 parking spots. Not just for bikes, but also for trees and benches and public space and biodiversity and, the cooling effect of having trees in a neighborhood when it gets hot. Oslo, they've already removed 7,000 parking spots. It's the same size as Lviv. 7,000 parking spots gone in the last, it's actually 5 years now. Paris, there are two cities to watch at the moment in the world, Paris and Helsinki. Really, at the moment, that's it. Copenhagen has done a lot of good work, but right now, who is doing the cool things? This is Paris and Helsinki. Paris is doing a massive redesign, thinking different, participatory democracy. They're asking the citizens, you guys on this street, do you need anything? Then send a letter send an email to the city hall, and we will literally consider it seriously, and we will listen to you because you live on that street. We don't, and we want you to feel comfortable in your urban context. And Paris is removing 65,000 car parking spots at the moment. This is their goal. Like 85% of Paris right now is a 30-kilometer-an-hour zone. Like this is also a big movement in Europe where urban centers, 30 kilometers per hour, nothing faster. It saves lives. It makes you feel better if you're walking down the street or riding a bike. Cars going 30 kilometers per hour, it makes you feel calm. You're not scared like you do when they're 50 kilometers per hour. Helsinki, they're planning on having no private cars in the city by 2030. They will have car share programs. There will be buses. There will be bike lanes. This is what's happening in Europe. And this is where I think that, when Ukraine is, everybody's talking about rebuilding Ukraine when we're done with the war and how are we going to have a Marshall Plan for Ukraine. I'm a bit scared about this, whatever Marshall Plan, because it's going to be huge companies with lots of asphalt and, who want to sell you cars and bring you into the new century. Oh, come on. This is the opportunity to really create Ukrainian cities that have life in them, that have people at the focus instead of asphalt and cars. So this is what's happening, all over Europe. So, and this is an example of how we're talking. There was a mayor of Paris for 12 years. The woman who is now mayor is amazing, and she is following in the same tradition of the man who came before her. And this is my favorite quote ever about cities. And he said, the fact is that cars no longer have a place in the big cities of our time. And when he says big cities, it's also including a city the size of Lviv. Paris is only 2 million people, right? So it's not far off your 750,000. So he means big cities like us, right? Copenhagen, Lviv, Paris. And then now the deputy mayor of Oslo, she's really cool. She's this coolest woman. She says, like in Europe with the smoking laws and everything, it's like, okay, you can't smoke inside anymore. It's going to be the same with cars. And just in a few years, like you remember when you could drive a car in the city center? I mean, those are crazy times. Wow. How do we even let that happen? It's going to be the same as smoking with cars in cities. This is where we're going, people. So talking about moving people down a street. The best example I know in the world is here in Copenhagen. This is Queen Louise's Bridge. This is a very densely populated working class, well, traditionally working class neighborhood. It's one of the main streets into the city center, the medieval city center, like 800, 900 years old. And this bridge was a main transport artery coming to the city center. We have really big roads off to the sides, but this was like through a neighborhood. And this street was not very cool. There were no cool shops. There was too many cars going down it. And the city, back in 2007, they said, we got to do something crazy. We have to really make this street better because that neighborhood is one of our cool neighborhoods, right? And so they did a massive redesign. So in 2008, there were 81,000 people being moved down the street. Like I said before, how many people can we move down the street? So they said, right, we got 81,000, great. There were very wide sidewalks. There was like bike lanes, which are our typical width, 2.5 meters, and we had 4 lanes for cars down this bridge. The redesign, you can see it here. 1 lane of cars in the middle, some turning lanes at the end, but the bicycle infrastructure went to 4 meters wide on both sides because this is the world's busiest bicycle street. So we needed it here. And the sidewalks, they also expanded them, made it, nicer to walk. So this is what happened. The number of pedestrians walking across this bridge, because it's very close. From the neighborhood to the city center, it's a 20-minute walk, right? The number of pedestrians went up by 165%. The number of bikes, already the world's busiest bicycle street, increased by 60%. The number of cars, down 57%. And public transport, the buses, they only went up 5% because it was already Northern Europe's busiest bus route. So it was hard to get more people on the bus. Now we have longer electric buses, so I think that number is different now. And so that was really good so far. What happened was this. Nobody saw this coming. I have all my colleagues at the city of Copenhagen and they said, oh my God, we didn't even plan for this. Now this number is super interesting because nobody ever stopped on this bridge. You just walked across it, rode a bike, took a bus, drove a car. And because they made the sidewalks wider, they started putting in some benches, like as an afterthought. We have a lot of space, like there's like one guy at a meeting. Yes, why don't we put some benches there? Oh my God, good idea. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, okay. And then it was like 1,400% increase in people stopping on the bridge, sitting down, grabbing some beer and a pizza, playing some music. And this bridge, in the course of only 2 months, I remember it back then, people would text me, like on the old Nokia telephones before smartphones, you want to meet on the bridge? This is not the bridge. We have many bridges in Copenhagen. This became the bridge in like 2 months. And so, yeah, dude, it also is really great for sunshine in Copenhagen, so it always has sun late in the day. So people are just sitting along there and drinking beer and eating pizza, and people are riding their bikes home, and we're all just looking at each other. We're all just doing this because that's what you do in cities. You look at each other, you check each other out, And so that was just, we created a destination by trying to improve the number of people who are moving down the street. It was an amazing win for the urbanism team. Nobody saw it coming. So now we are moving from 81,000, now we are moving 97,000 people down the street with the transport connections, right? The improved transport. And we created a destination. It's as easy as that. So I always talk about like a short history of traffic engineering. For 7,000 years, we were very rational. Our primary transport forms were horses and walking. That was all we had. And so we provided them with a fast A to B. In our thinking, they have to go here. So let's make it quick. 1900, public transport and bicycles all over the world. Every Ukrainian city was Copenhagen in 1900 and 1920s. Everybody rode bikes everywhere in the world. We still were rational, thinking about how to give them a fast A to B. 1920, the car started to arrive in our cities, mostly in America back then, but still, we were rational. And then from 1950s until now, this is the reality in many cities around the world. The car has the fast A to B. Everybody else, good luck trying to get around the city, right? I've walked around Lviv, and it's basically that. On the right, that is basically Lviv today, and most cities in the world. This is what we need to do. It's simple. I made this. This is the quickest fix for cities in the world. You prioritize these 3 transport forms. You think about how to get them fast from A to B, and you make driving a car a pain in the ass, right? You make it more difficult, more expensive, more inconvenient. You slow them down. Probably also in Ukrainian, like many languages, we talk about the carrot, you know, that encourages people, or the stick. We need the biggest stick in the history of cities in order to fix this. This is what we need to do. I call this in English A to Bism. We all want to go quickly from A to B. You do it all day long in your daily lives. You don't think about it, but you do it. It's our behavior as humans. If I needed to leave this room now, you know, for whatever reason, I will quickly scan the room and I'm going, okay, you know what? I could probably squeeze through there and get out the front door, right? If you over there need to go to the bathroom, you're probably figuring, oh shit, I gotta go to, you know, we all map out in our heads the quickest way to get from A to B. If you make the bicycle the quickest way from A to B in a city as transport, that's what gets people to ride a bike, you know? If you make it trams and bikes and walking, boom, that is the simplest solution. We know in transport psychology that motorists are the last people to change their behavior. It's not their fault. It's literally just transport psychology. They invest a lot of money in a big fancy machine, and so it becomes their baby. And everything revolves around their baby. Oh, the neighbors here with their parking in the backyard, oh, well, I want my parking spot. It's my right as a human. Oh, really? You know, it's public. This should be public space out here. There should be gardens. There should be, you know, a wider cafe, trees, and everything, you know. So we know that motorists are the ones that we have to work with. But the way to do it is simply the big stick. It's traffic psychology, basically. Okay, this was an impromptu, like a spontaneous idea that I should speak tonight. So this is some stuff that doesn't work. I was speaking in a small city last year, so doesn't mean anything to us. So in my work, through 15 years, I have heard every excuse. I have in the book that's coming out in Ukrainian, there's a whole chapter about myth busting. I've heard it all. I hear it all the time. It's just like, oh, boring now, you know, because I know how to answer it. Whenever you hear somebody saying, oh, you know what, here in our city, people won't do that. They won't do what you do in Copenhagen or Amsterdam. They won't do that here because blah, 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 blah. So whenever you hear somebody say, people won't do that here, it means I won't do that here. Yeah, right? So remember that. Every time you hear people say, yeah, people in Lviv, they won't ride a bike in the winter. Yeah, that means you won't ride a bike, or people won't ride a bike there. You won't, fine. You know, let's just understand the reality of this phrasing that people use. It's a personal observation. It's this person, whoever says it, does not speak for every human in a city, right? It's a personal thing. So that's the first thing we got to forget what they say. And every time you hear somebody say, oh, people won't do that here, somebody is doing exactly that thing somewhere in the world right now. Oh, in our city we have hills. People won't ride bikes because we have hills. Okay, go to Oslo. I lived in Oslo. It's way more hilly than Lviv. Oh, but it's hot in our city. Okay, go to Seville in Spain, where it's 45 degrees in the summer, and they have an amazing network of bicycle infrastructure, and people are riding bikes. Oh, we can't ride in the snow. Oh, okay, really? Go to Oulu in Finland, in the Arctic Circle, where 14% of the population ride a bike in the winter. Even in Copenhagen, 75% of the population ride a bike all winter. So every time somebody says, oh, blah, 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 somebody's doing it. So it makes it really fun. It just makes it really quick to argue these points. And everything has been invented. There's nothing new. Like, we have invented this stuff over a long period of time, and it is still useful today. The first time anybody said, you know, we had bicycle paths, like through a park or along a river, back in 1892. But the first time anybody decided to separate on the road, to give that space to cyclists with a physical separation, and physical separation from the pedestrians. So pedestrians have a space, cyclists have a space, and vehicles have a space. That was in 1915 in Copenhagen. That's a long time ago. All we've done since 1915 is improve on the design, right? It's all been figured out. I talk about this stuff, but I stand, like we say in English, I stand on the shoulders of generations of urban planners and urban designers who figured this stuff out, who are now long dead, but their work still works today. And this is our design in Denmark, in Danish planning for bicycles. It is untouched since the 1920s. 1930s, we added some things, right? Like we have standards of how to do roads out in the countryside. They are untouched since 1920s because they work. They still work today. Even with more cars, we figured it out. In a way, I have the easiest job in the world as a bicycle planner. Because in Denmark, we have 4 types of bicycle infrastructure. And one of these 4 fits every street in the Danish kingdom and every street in every city in the world. And I asked 2 questions in other cities. I said, okay, we want bike lanes here. Cool. How many cars per day? Like 24 hours, what's your number of cars? And what is the speed limit for those cars at the moment? Great. That's number 2. That's number 3. That's number 4. Incredibly simple. It's all been figured out. And I know a lot of countries, especially big countries, are like, oh, we don't need that little Danish country to tell us what to do. We can do that ourselves. We have traffic engineers. We can figure it out. Yeah, no, because your traffic engineers probably don't ride bikes, and don't have any clue and don't know about all of this. So it's really, simple to copy paste from people who figured that stuff out, right? If I want to make pasta, I'm probably going to talk to an Italian. Probably a grandmother in Italy about how to make pasta because she probably knows exactly what to do. She's been doing it for a while. It's the same concept, right? We figured it out. Copy paste. Save lives, save money, save time, get the success that you need in a short amount of time by using designs that are proven over 100 years to work. Even between small cities in Denmark, also in Holland, there's a town of 5,000 down here and a town of 7,000. There's 20 kilometers between them, and you can see the bicycle infrastructure here, right? Out in the middle of nowhere, you can just put, we do that. Because we know that it's not for the spandex dudes. They can do that, but this is transport between 2 towns. We don't think twice about riding a bike 20 kilometers to go to another place. It's just like, it's enjoyable, it's quick. You're out in nature. You're getting your exercise, which is important. These are just other examples. This is coming into a small city. There's a huge truck there, but there's infrastructure for bikes. This is all over the country in Denmark through a very long time. Again, there's a very wide street on the left. I can ride a bike. Even in the winter, we have a policy in Copenhagen. This is in the middle of nowhere, and they still keep it clean after it snows. The city of Copenhagen has a policy that by 8 o'clock in the morning, if it snows, if it's a heavy snowstorm, the bicycle infrastructure has to be cleared of snow. Because we have about 400,000 people riding bikes every day, and they need to get to work and to education. And, one of your issues here with 150,000 extra refugees is like, that's a lot of extra people on your public transport. And we have to keep it clean, from snow, because 400,000 people who don't ride a bike and try to take a bus or a train, no city in the world can handle that from like a Tuesday until a Wednesday. So this policy also encourages cycling. You can rely on it. The trains, okay, if it leaves at 12, I want the train to leave at 12. If I go to work at 8:30 in the morning, okay, I need to rely on the infrastructure for bikes. Know that the city has cleared it of snow. It's simple policy. So this is one of the main motorways leading to the city of Copenhagen, like, I don't know how many cars. And you have over here, you have about 10,000 people a day. This is outside the city center. 10,000 people a day on the infrastructure for bikes. Okay, you're a winter city as well in Lviv. Oulu in Finland, like I said, they're 14% ride bikes all winter. It is the most amazing thing. I went up there in 2019 in December, like dark December, and just like see older women with their groceries on their bike, just going, yeah, I'm going home, man. Easy. And a lot of when I talk about cycling, I talk about how it's not the spandex, it's not the people who do it for the sport and the exercise, mostly men between 20 and 40. I'm talking about regular people, just riding a bike, smoking a cigarette in Finland, in the Arctic in December, going, yep, just got to go home from work, you know, and he can do that on the bicycle infrastructure. So we talk a lot about in Denmark, like in the Nordic countries, we're very pragmatic. We like data. We don't just do stuff because we can. We do it because it makes sense. And we can prove to the skeptics that it makes sense. So we made all the mistakes in the 50s and 60s. We started to realize our mistakes in the 70s and 80s. And then we had some money in the 90s. Copenhagen was a very poor city until like in the 1990s. And now we're one of the richest cities in the world. I'm not an economic man, but I don't know how that works. But 1990s, we started putting back the infrastructure for bikes that was taken out over the past 30 years before that. And then we said, we got to figure out why we're doing this. Why are we investing this public money in bikes? What is the cost benefit of this, right? So first of all, we found out that on best practice bicycle infrastructure, on a street, one way, 2.5 meters for bikes, and on the other side, 2.5 meters for bikes, we can move 5,900 people per hour. On average in the world, we can move about 800 to 1,300 cars per hour. And as you know, how much space cars take up, right? So you can see the traffic jams, right? So we just looked at that. That's very effective in moving people down a street. We also started calculating where's the money in this? Like, does this make sense for our city economy? So everybody who rides a bike every day, like me, this guy dressed like this in Copenhagen, summer or winter, we contribute 233 million euros a year to the public budget. And this is money that the city can use. Okay, we know we're going to save that money on public health, so we can put that money into schools, parks, whatever we need. Over 10 years, from 2006 to 17, we spent 286 million euros. That's a lot of hryvnias, right? But we spent that on bicycle infrastructure. But I'm really bad at math, but hopefully you're better. You can see we spent 286, but every year we're making 233. Right? So 233 times 10, right? It makes sense. All we want to know in Denmark is this a business model? This is public money. We're spending my tax money. Can we do it effectively? Yes, we can. We know that every time somebody rides a bike in Copenhagen, like this guy rides a bike 1 kilometer, we save 23 cents, euro cents, right? In public health savings. I'm healthier because I ride a bike slowly, talking on my phone or just like, going home drunk from a bar or whatever. We're saving money because of the health benefits. Every time somebody drives a car, 1 kilometer, we throw away 87 euro cents. We never see it again. It's the worst business model in the history of transportation, cars. It's not even like, it's not a philosophy, an idealist opinion. It's literally the worst business model. And here, it's the world's best business model in transportation. And public transport is a second, very close second. I hear all over the world, oh, so you're going to take away parking in front of the shops. I can't park in front of the shops. I pay money in the shops. And we went, yeah, that doesn't make any sense anymore, because here, outside this shop, you have, I can't see it, there's like space for like 10 bikes, 9 bikes, I think, outside this shop, right? Instead of just one person parking, because most cars are just one person, right? So we know, and we've proven it with data and studies, that people who ride bikes in Copenhagen, they spend more money in shops than people who drive cars. It's like 75 to 100 euros every month more that we spend in shops. So we're better for the economy. We know that if you make more space, there are more customers in the shops. If you also create bike lanes and bike parking, it makes the street feel nicer. So there are more pedestrians who want to walk down the street. It's not like vroom, vroom, cars, 50 kilometers per hour. It's just like it calms the street down. It attracts pedestrians, and that improves the economy for the shops. And we've proven it for like 50 years. I've seen all the studies over the past 50 years. If you put in bike lanes along the sidewalk, which is best practice, then all the shops, they start to make money. 30 to 50% more profit for all of the local businesses along these streets. Makes sense? Yeah, so that's the cost benefit. Because, wait, I don't know why I did this. This is like from last year. So yeah, if I ride a bike, I live longer, right? I'm going to live 7 years longer because I ride a bike once in a while to my wine bar and my supermarket and my job, right? I'm going to live 7 years longer. I'm going to be less ill while I'm alive. I'm going to just be healthier. I won't have to call in sick to my boss. So I'll be more effective on the workforce. And the funny thing is I will die fast, right? If you're an economic, a society with, you're thinking about economics, you want people to live a healthy life and then die quick and go. It's funny, right? It's super weird. And somebody who's like really ill because they made bad lifestyle choices is, oh, we have to pay. How much are we paying? Right, where do I pay for this person on the respirator? Okay, you know, we're paying money for people to die slowly because they're unhealthy. It's so stupid. Like, it's very, very brutal, but it's true, right? So I'm going to live longer. I'm going to live stronger. I'm going to be a more effective person on the workforce, and I will die quick, hopefully. Doesn't everybody want to die quick? I think we do. And then also the other aspect is that when you're on a bike in Copenhagen, you're never late for work. Cars are always late, so we're losing, you know, valuable money because motorists are stuck in traffic, right? That they create themselves, right? Okay, this is awkward. Sorry, awkward. Shit, I forgot about this one. Okay, if you don't mind, I'll talk about Russia. Okay, I hope you're okay. So it was this way back, 2014. There was this one crazy mayor in Tatarstan who said, I want to be the Copenhagen of Russia. Nobody ever fucking called me from Russia. Russia was like this wasteland for urban planning. And so we went in and we designed this city, this nice small city of 150,000 people. He was a really cool guy. He understood urbanism, and he was the first person in Russia to say, fuck, urbanism is important. Let's make parks. Let's make bike lanes. Let's become the Copenhagen of Russia. And it was the greatest job ever because they did whatever we told them to do. So literally the best bicycle infrastructure in the world is in this city, Almatyevsk in Tatarstan. And they're very independent. They think they're independent from Russia. They're not. Nobody's independent from Russia. But it was really an amazing job. And they just copy-pasted everything from Copenhagen. They put in everything we told them to put in. These railings, you have them. I've seen them in Lviv, haven't I? And also in Kiev. Yeah. Like that. Like everybody's just stealing that shit from Copenhagen. And we don't care. It's like open source, man. And they just did everything we did. So the best bicycle infrastructure in the world, and they also they bought like bike lane cleaners from Finland, like designed for the same width as the bike lanes, and they bought a bunch of those, and they keep doing it. So they went from nobody basically on bikes to 8% of the population on bikes. So forget that it's Russia. Just remember the context of a really weird city, like a Ukrainian city who doesn't believe in this stuff, all of a sudden, you know, going, wow, we can do this. And I prove that it's possible in the weirdest place in the world, that 8% of the population will ride bikes. Data is very important. And if there are activists here and you're fighting maybe the city and you're thinking about like, oh, there's nobody riding bikes there. You know, you have to go out and you have to count. And you have to do data counts. There's great apps for this, for counting bikes. I can tell you afterwards. And so we know everything in Copenhagen. We have this open source data. You can go to the city's website. The list of things, it's only in Danish at the moment, but the list of things you can find out from the city who gathers. There's no city in the world that gathers as much data as Copenhagen. It's insane. So I know that on that street there are that many cyclists. And I can go in and I can click on the circle, and I will get a list of more details, and then I can download the PDF because we count all the time. 2 times a year, plus lots of underground counters. We know how many people are riding bikes, walking, how many cars, how many garbage cans we have, every detail. And every citizen can go in going, okay, cool. I think we need more here. And then we have an app where you can say, hey, yeah, so there's a problem here. There's this really bad bike lane with a hole in it. And you can take a photo and send it. And there's a task force from the city of Copenhagen who read the email, okay, that's really a good idea. And within 2 weeks, it's fixed. So you, whoever you are, who said, that's awesome, sorry, that sucks, the city, if it's a good idea, they'll fix it within 2 weeks. So that is power. That is the citizens being handed the power. And that is also a city who is outsourcing their resources, you know. There are more eyes on the street. Everybody's looking for it, knowing that they can change their street. That is amazing urban power. And you guys are this amazing digital nation now, right? This is a no-brainer for you guys to really have that open source approach to citizens. I've seen this in other cities. In Bangkok, there's also an app. There's, so many places in the world. Citizens, man, it's time to give them the power back instead of only having it behind the walls of the fortress, you know, in City Hall or the regional administration, right? So this is the app, if anybody's interested. It's a Canadian open source app called Counterpoint. I have it on my phone. If I'm sitting in a cafe in a new city, I'll just sit there, drink wine, and go, oh, bike. Oh, like, there's different versions of it. You can do whatever count you want. And then you register the location, and somebody else can go in and go, oh, wait, somebody was here on Wednesday. What's it like on a Sunday? Boom, bike. You just sit there drinking wine or coffee and doing it. So like data is important. Whoever has the most data will win. If it's the citizens who have the most data, the city should be scared because they have more power. If it is the city who has more data, it's generally good for everybody because that is a city who understands the importance of data. So data is the game changer. And luckily, everything has been invented. There's nothing new. It's all been done for 120 years. We don't need to think differently. There are maybe some digital applications here and there, but it's just adding to the things we already know, improving the things that we already know. We don't have to think differently. We don't have to send, like in America sometimes on jobs, they send traffic engineers out who've only been trained in, designing roads for cars, and build some bike lanes. These people have never even ridden a bike. Like in a city, you should send all the people who are designing bicycle infrastructure, you should put them on bikes, force them to ride a bike in the city for a month. They'll come back going, oh my God, okay, I get this now. Yeah, shit. We need, that was crazy. And they will understand, right? It's all been invented and it's important. And it is the future of our cities to think differently. Think about the people first, not just the machines that, the cars, right? The people. It is us who own the cities. It is us who should have the influence back in our cities. Okay? It's really that simple. So at the end here, when I was in Kiev, I got like a crazy tattoo because it's super cheap in Ukraine. Everything's super cheap. It's amazing. And so I got this Nordic tattoo here. But then I got this little tattoo here, which in the runes, the rune writing of the Vikings, the way that we wrote back in the day. The rune writing we used 1,200 years ago. It changed through history, but 1,200 years ago we wrote in a very specific way with our runes. And at the tattoo guy yesterday, I said, you got to do this, man. Because around that time, the Northmen came to Kiev and conquered Kiev and started to expand the Kiev Rus Empire, and we were all like high-fiving each other, right? So I just got that in our traditional language, and it says Slava Ukraini. I don't know how long that was, but if there aren't any questions, I'm happy to take questions. Anybody know how long that was?
50 minutes.
Huh?
50 minutes. 50 minutes.
I have 15 minutes left?
No.
That was 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes.
Yeah, we have, let's say, 15 minutes for Q&A, and I will moderate it. So we have 2 questions, and both of them in Ukrainian, so I'll translate it for you.
Fucking hopefully, Jesus.
Come on, you know Slava Ukraini already. It's the half of our lesson.
That's all you need to know. Right.
Okay. The first one was about what people want and how they manifest their want. They want park, they want bike lane, but so many people are poisoned with wanting more parking spots. Mm-hmm. What can we do if they conquer the city? How can you resist?
Oh boy, I met your mayor today. I don't know how you feel personally about your mayor, and I don't have any opinion because I don't know the politics and who he is. But we were telling him about Bikes for Ukraine, and he seemed very positive. But then I meet mayors all over the world, so they're always like, oh, super, wow, expert from Denmark, high five, yeah. So I don't know what happens after. We'll figure that shit out, right? There is a problem. It's not unique to Ukraine. When you talk to people, you go, oh, but here people just want their cars. It's not a Ukrainian thing. It's fucking everywhere, right? And that's why we need the big stick. So the mayor of the deputy mayor of Oslo, like her quote is what we need to remember. You know, like it's like smoking, right? And I also have graphics like. You know, how driving is the new smoking. Like, it's really bad for society, right? It's really bad for city life. You know, motorists are less healthy than people who walk or ride bikes or take public transport. So if you're serious in a country about, you know, the public health and the big picture of how the economy works and healthier citizens are more productive citizens, then it's important to really think about how to reduce the number of cars in a city. So, I'm not a politician, so I'm like, you know, it's the big stick. You make it difficult to drive. You know, you do like Paris and Stockholm and Milan, Singapore, hopefully New York soon. You make a congestion charge, because a lot of the problem, I think also here in Lviv and in Copenhagen, is that we have people who live here, right? In Copenhagen, we have like, you know, 750,000 people. But then there's all these people who don't live in Copenhagen, who vote for different politicians who drive into our city because it's the capital and the regional capital, and we have to work there, so we have to drive our cars. But like, you know, if you invite me to your house and I mean, it's raining and I have muddy boots, right? You know, and I walk through your house and I don't take off my shoes, you're gonna go, what the fuck, dude? Like, take off your shoes, right? Motorists don't take off their shoes when they drive into the cities that we pay for. So this is one issue. Is thinking about, you know, who does the city belong to? The people who don't vote for our politicians in the city, it doesn't belong to them. They are guests in our city, so they should behave properly, right? But it really is the big stick. It's policy to make driving difficult, removing parking spots, which is, I just listed 4 cities. It's so many other cities are doing it all over Europe and have been doing it for many, many years. It's really a question of what kind of city do you want to create for the future? Do you want to just keep doing the same old Soviet planning that was handed to you through many, many decades? Or do you want to create a better Ukrainian city, right? A better Ukrainian urban life? That's the choice, you know? And it's policy. And I'm not talking about your mayor specifically, but it is political leadership. Making massive change, not taking little baby steps like so many cities, but like literally stepping into the 21st century and really caring about the health of your citizens, right? That's what we need to do. Basically, I always say, like, you know, what motorists say is not interesting anymore. It doesn't mean anything. You know, they are the most uninteresting people because they are in traffic psychology. You know, they are here. This is me, my bubble, me, me, me. And that is not interesting for the collective society, right? And the betterment of the whole urban system. So what motorists want, I don't give a shit.
Okay. Then the second question was regarding the strategic documents and implementation level, because Lviv already has the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, the UMP, and it's pretty progressive, and I see at least 4 people who've been developing it and the head of group. Then at the level of implementation, money doesn't come where they were meant to go by this strategic document. Any suggestions? What instruments? Well, that was the question. What instruments
you know,
use in Denmark?
Okay.
What instruments were used in Denmark? Yeah.
Okay, Denmark's different. I think, like, I often talk about what is transferable. So infrastructure from Copenhagen is transferable into any city in the world. This context is different because we've been doing it longer. For 40 years, we did it very slowly. What about if we do this? I don't know, let's try it. Oh, it works, yay. You know, it's like a very slow thing. Now, over the past 10, 15 years, cities want to do it fast. And it's good that they want to do it fast. So this level, like the people here who have worked on the Sustainable Mobility Plan, I mean, they are the people that I work with, that I high five, that I drink with, okay? Then there's the political decision making. So it's the next level is the one you have to tackle. And that is where we need activism That is where we need regular citizens, not just the, yeah, I want to ride a bike in my city. That's awesome. But the people who are saying, you know what? You know, how can we form some sort of collective activism, urbanist activism group? Now, I always say it's not about bikes. Like, I'm not a cyclist, okay? I ride a bike everywhere in Copenhagen. I'm not a cyclist. I don't want to be a cyclist. I don't care. I don't know how to fix a bike. But bicycles are the Trojan horse for a better urban future. But it's not about bikes. So having that collective urbanist movement, which is easy to form, especially with so many young people in cities all over the world. There's so many people going, yeah, dude, you know, before the war, I went to like Copenhagen, I went to Paris, like it was awesome. Why don't we have that at home? You know, like that is where activism is the key. I know these really cool activists. Oh God, I'm going to talk about Russia again, sorry. But St. Petersburg, many years ago, these activists, like what our mayor says, oh, I understand the bike lanes. Yeah, but I drive my car down, you know, Nevsky Prospect every day and I only see 5 bikes. So like, you know, go, I don't get the point. And I told them at this conference, I said, go out and count. Buy like the little click, 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 the old school clickers and do your own. And they did. And they went to the mayor or the vice mayor and they said, dude, it's like 600 bikes a day. And he went, what? And that guy was actually going, okay, wow, you had better data than me. I will listen. So they started building more bicycle infrastructure in that city. That was cool. So the activists, and I see it all over the world, right? Where activists who are strong and not just bikes, but also urban life. And New York has this amazing program where they have an app. The Parks Department in New York, they made an app for like, how many trees are there in New York? I don't know, but we have an app. So I'm out walking the dog in New York, you know, and oh, there's a tree. Okay, cool. Photo. What kind of tree is it? I have no fucking idea. I don't know trees. It's like, how big is it? I don't know, 1 meter. You know, and you enter it. And then you keep walking your dog. And somebody else will come along going, okay, that tree, oh, that's totally an ash tree. Yeah. And whatever. And they collectively have counted every tree in New York and shown that there is neighborhoods on a map on the website that, wow, there are no trees there. Like, that sucks. Let's plant more. You know, that is a collective movement. That is what you need, especially with your digital future in Ukraine and your amazing digital, the culture that you have in the war and generally, right? That is where you need this activist movement of regular citizens who are engaged. Like, you're not going to get non-cyclists to maybe go yay for cycling, but you can get them to go yay about trees or wider sidewalks or crappy sidewalks. Man, I think that digital activism, engaging citizens under the big umbrella of better fucking cities. I think that is really the way to go. And that will help the layer of civil employees who understand this, and that will help influence higher up in the political food chain. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And
yeah, I
one more
just
question.
want to ask one more question, because you mentioned Helsinki and Paris as like a front runner right now in terms of bicycle infrastructure development. And
oh, everything, not just bikes. Yeah.
Okay, then the question is why? Why do you think these two cities are right now leaders?
Yeah. Okay, so I have a podcast, The Life-Size City. The name of the TV series is also, if you have a podcast and understand English well, the Life-Size City Urbanism podcast. I interview the deputy mayor of Helsinki, like the most amazing woman. Like, I would vote for her if I could. You know, you should all vote for her if you could. Oh, she's so visionary. So they said, right, energy. We have to stop burning things, right? Doesn't matter what it is. We have to stop burning coal, biomass, everything. So they have this, huge award for the best idea about how to power Helsinki and other cities in Finland with ideas that we don't know yet, right? They literally said, what's out there? Is some crazy guy in a house in, in France who I've been working on this idea for years. It might work. They just put it out there. So they're looking for new solutions. They understand the importance of trams and bicycle infrastructure. They have a very strong participatory democracy. They ask the citizens, right? And that's the same thing with Paris. During COVID, they put in I don't know how many, like 70 kilometers of temporary bike lanes. So if you've ever been to Paris, there's this one main boulevard called the Rue de Rivoli, super wide street, 6 lanes. Now 4 of the lanes are for bikes since COVID. And the city's going, we're keeping that. that was our moment of opportunity to change the city, COVID, right? You have a war going on. That's your opportunity to change your cities for the better, right? Maybe more in the east, of course, but still, even here in Lviv. Then they said, and they also have participatory democracy. In some countries, in Germany, if you are 20,000 people, signatures, about one issue, we have 20,000, and the city hall will say, "Oh fuck, okay, we have to talk about this." Okay, and you force the government to talk, right? We have the same in Denmark. In Paris, it's like it's like 5 people. If you're on the same street, if you live on that tiny street, 5 people, 20 people, yeah, we think we need trees on this street, right? And the city's going, okay, 5 people have said that. That is democracy on a level. That is like, I don't see that anywhere else in the world. So they are visionary because they don't do the huge white paper master plan that takes 4 years to prepare and then they present it. Every week in Paris, something new happens. And I know the deputy mayor of Paris, he's so cool. And he's going, yeah, we do it like that. It's a strategy. Every week, some crazy thing happens in that neighborhood, that neighborhood. That makes us look good. That makes, as politicians, it makes us look like we're dynamic. Always new things happening. But he says it's very calculated. It's strategic. It's all part of our master plan. But it feels like new stuff's happening. So that's why, I mean, I literally at the moment, you know, for many years I said, Copenhagen's so great. And for bikes it is. But right now, Helsinki and Paris, the citizens are being listened to. That's the short version. I should have maybe started with that, the short answer, sorry. The citizens are now in power. Boom.
Okay, and we really have like 4 minutes before we need to jump to the taxi. And yeah, I see Igor's hand there at the end. And if it will be enough time, we'll hear your question, please.
Thanks. I have 2 questions, but...
No! 4 minutes!
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say thank you for this lecture. I fully agree with Vadim that we use all these pictures, yeah?
Yeah.
And we have this mistake with car-oriented planning. But I would like to ask you about mistakes which you have passed with some detail. So I understood that it's better to orient on people, not on car. Yeah? It's clear, and we have a lot of changes in our legislation, construction, etc. But could you present some examples you make mistakes on small level? For example, like when it was bad to mix pedestrians and cyclists, or maybe cyclists and cars, maybe something of public transport stop, etc., etc. So small examples is question number 1, and second question is about quality of infrastructure. So you say that we understood that the pavement should be smooth. It's clear, but how to measure it? Do you have some legislative document or some norms?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
There's lots of small mistakes. The point is, regarding bikes in cities, we've made all the mistakes. We've paid for them. You know, we slapped somebody and somebody got fired at some point in history. We made all the mistakes, so you don't have to, right? One of them was, you see in a lot of cities, this is a busy road for cars. Yeah, cyclists, they don't want to ride a bike there, says some person who doesn't ride a bike. Oh, let's take them on a detour on this street. This side street's very quiet. That's where cyclists want to go. There's no traffic. We did this in the 1990s and spent a lot of money when we started to rebuild our bicycle infrastructure. And I know this man, he's like the grand old man of bicycle planning in Copenhagen. He's great. And he went, yeah, we screwed up there. Because the cyclists are going, why do I go over here? To go here, to go here, to go here. Why? I want to go there, A to B, right? And the cars can go A to B, the trams and the buses, everybody, you know, why do I have to do the detour? You know, and they spent a lot of money and they realized that's stupid. So they took away the space on the main street. Actually, the street I showed you before. And they said, right, that's where people want to go. The cyclists, pedestrians, everybody, right? Slava Ukraini!
All right, let's say thank you to Mikael Kolvілл-Андерсен.
Thank you. Thank you.
What is amazing here that when me and Ores and Dana wrote a letter to Mikael. We could not believe that the guy of such level, I mean, he's super influential. Like, he's the keynote speaker of the most famous conferences in the whole world. He will answer and volunteer for us. So he's doing it all to stand with Ukraine and support Ukraine. So thanks a lot, Michael. And, yeah.